Well, hi kids, this is Pastor Mark here, and welcome to Storytime with Pastor Mark. I am so glad that we get to hang out together today. I hope you've had a great week. I know we've had a fun week in the Hallock house, doing all kinds of stuff together inside. Hey, listen, you might be looking at me and thinking, why is he wearing his rain jacket with the hood and everything? And that's a good question. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a huge rainstorm before? I mean, like a rainstorm that has like lightning and thunder, and it's kind of scary actually. Well, today we're going to read a story about a huge thunderstorm that scared some of Jesus' closest friends, but we see that Jesus is powerful even over storms. It's really amazing. And so as we get ready for the book here, I had to put on my rain gear, and in fact, I've got a little buddy here who's got his rain gear on too, and you know who it is. It's Tofu. Tofu, where are you? Where are you, Tofu? Here's Tofu, and he's got his rain jacket on too. Hey, buddy, how you doing? He's got a hood. Look at that hood. You look pretty cool. He's got a... Look at this guy's ready. This guy's ready for the rain. I'm ready for the rain. Let's go read a story about Jesus, should we? Okay, here's the story we're going to read today. It's called The Storm That Stopped. All right, let's get ready to read it together. All right, we're going to read the story called The Storm That Stopped by Allison Mitchell, illustrated by Catalina Echeverry. And this is a true story about who Jesus really is. Okay, here we go. One day long ago, Jesus was teaching people by the sea. Soon, some more people arrived, then others. Then more and more, until there were people everywhere. Everyone say everywhere, everywhere. So many people came to hear Jesus. The crowds were just too big. Look at these crowds. They're saying, we can't hear back here. Give me some room. Then over here it says, no one could see Jesus and no one could hear Jesus. I can't see. Be quiet. You can imagine all these people complaining because they want to see and hear Jesus. So Jesus asked his friends, the disciples, to push their boat out into the water. He sat in the boat and the huge crowd spread out along the beach. Now they could all see him and they could all hear Jesus as he told them all about God. Isn't that a great idea? So everybody's sitting out here right on the edge, and Jesus goes out on the boat so that he can teach everybody and everybody can see him. Then we read this. When he finished teaching the people, Jesus said to his friends, let's go over to the other side of the sea. Okay, what do you think's going to happen? Looks like they're going to get in the boat and go to the other side of the water. Jesus had finished teaching the crowd, and now he had something to teach his friends. You can see Jesus and all of his disciples. Those are his best friends. But they didn't know it yet. So they all jumped in the boat with him and set sail across the sea. There's Jesus and his buddies going across the sea. Jesus was so tired. He'd been teaching the people all day. So he lay down in the back of the boat and fell fast asleep. Check out Jesus. He's so tired, he's sleeping. But all of his buddies, they're like wide awake. It was a quiet evening. The water gently lapped against the boat, and the sun slowly set in the sky. Jesus was sleeping. The disciples were quietly talking. Then all of a sudden, oh boy, something's going to happen. What do you think's going to happen? All of a sudden, they were in the middle of the biggest, loudest, scariest, most ginormous storm you could imagine. Oh my gosh, look at the lightning crashing. You can imagine how loud it is. And they're all scared. Look at the disciples. They can't believe they're in the storm all of a sudden. And there's Jesus just sleeping away. Those Z's are him sleeping. Zzz. He's just calm, asleep. Oh boy, what do you think's going to happen now? They're in the middle of the storm. It says this, the wind blew hard, the waves grew huge, the water poured into the boat, but Jesus was asleep. Can you believe Jesus was asleep? I can't believe Jesus slept through this thing. There he is, he's still sleeping, and all of his buddies, they are scared to death. They're probably screaming, they're afraid they could die from this storm. The wind blew harder. The waves grew huger. The water filled the boat. But Jesus was still asleep. Look at him. Jesus, wake up, wake up. We're drowning. Don't you care? What a silly thing to say to Jesus. Of course he cared. He loved his friends so much that one day he was going to die for them. Of course Jesus cared about them. Jesus stood up in the boat. The wind was still blowing. Now look at this. This is so funny. There's these 4 meters. This is called the windometer, and it starts at the bottom and goes to the top. And if the water, the higher it gets, the more dangerous it is. So this is the windometer, and it says that it's a mild breeze if the boat is filled to there. If it gets halfway, it wouldn't be outside. If I wouldn't be outside if I were you. But the water is all the way to the top, which is, if it reaches here, alert, alert. So you know it's serious. Then it says the waves were bigger than ever. Here's the wave-o-meter. And it's at the very top, and the top says, it's red, it's too late, help. So you can imagine the waves are huge. And then over on this page, it says the water was pouring into the boat quicker than the disciples could tip it out again. Literally, the boat was being filled up with water. And this is the sink-o-meter. And it's so high, and it says, I really hope you know how to swim. Because I'll tell you what, they're going to be swimming real fast because this boat is overflowing with water. In fact, it says this, the boat was sinking. And this is the panic-o-meter. It says, major panic attack. They're scared to death because the boat is filled with water. This is a serious situation. What do you think is going to happen? Oh boy. Well, I know Jesus is in there, so I think everything's going to be okay. But let's see what happens. But then, Jesus did something amazing. He didn't help his friends pour the water out of the boat. He didn't help them try to row back to land. Jesus simply spoke. But he didn't speak to the disciples. He spoke to the storm, to the wind, and to the waves. That seems kind of weird, doesn't it? Jesus started speaking to the waves. Let's see what he says. He says, quiet, be still. Kids, can you say that with me? Quiet, be still. Say it again louder. Quiet, be still. That's right. That's what Jesus said to the storm. He said, quiet, be still. Now, what do you think happens? What do you think happens to the storm? Let's see. Just 3 little words, and the storm stopped. Right away, at that very moment, the sea was quiet, still, and calm. Look at that. The storm completely stopped as soon as Jesus said those words. Look at the water is all quiet now. His friends can't believe it. They're in shock. They've got their mouths open like, what just happened? That's unbelievable. And Jesus, he knows what's going on. He just controlled the storm. Then we read this. Then Jesus looked at his friends. Why are you so afraid? Do you still not trust me? But they were terrified, and they asked each other, who is this? Even the waves and wind do what he says. They can't believe the power of Jesus, can they? This is what Jesus wanted to teach them. He wanted them to know who he really is. The disciples already knew a lot about God from his special book. They knew that God made everything. He made the world. He made the sun and the moon and the stars. And he made the sea and the wind as well. They knew that only God can tell the sea what to do. That only God can tell the wind when to blow or the waves when to crash. Only God can do these things. See, in this, what is this word right here in the middle? God, that's right. Only God could do these things. But Jesus was doing them too. What do you think that means about Jesus? I think we're going to find out. But the disciples had just seen Jesus do the same things God can do. So what is the answer to their question? Who is Jesus? Okay, kids, do you know who he is? Who is Jesus really? Here's the answer. Jesus is God. Can you say that with me? Jesus is God. That's right. Jesus is God who controls the weather and the storms and the whole earth and everything that goes on, because he's not just a man. He is God in the flesh. Jesus is God. And he stopped the storm that day. Well, kids, as you can see, the storm is over. It's a clear blue sky. I've taken off my raincoat. Tofu, he took off his own raincoat. It's pretty amazing how he can put on his own coat and take it off. I still find it amazing. He's an incredible dog. Well, we're going to go out for a walk now. We're not going to worry about the rain because it's a beautiful day. All right, so just remember, Jesus loves you. I love you. Jesus is God. Remember that from today. And we'll see you guys next week. Can't wait to see you. Have a good week.